Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today we're going to look at the third installment of website conversion optimization. This is where I spent $170 to get feedback from two different sites, including PickFu and 5-second test. The idea is to get a dial-in on the landing page. We've featured it earlier on in the series if you go back to episodes 1 and 2. But it's really key to kind of gather as much information as possible, because ideally if we're going to be spending hundreds of dollars, or in terms of pounds, depends on the marketplace, over the next few months on Facebook ads and AdWords PPC, then it's going to be very key that we're going to try and save as much money as possible without wasting. So without further ado, let's get into the show. It's listed under Usability Hub, which is app.usabilityhub.com. We're in the dashboard now, but if you do a search for 5-second test, you'll see it there. So the key thing here is there's various options. So when you create the new template, you give a test name, project name, etc., and then you can decide on what type of language, devices, whether mobile, desktop, or etc. And then what happens, you can add from a selection. So you can do first click, you can just do straight up questions, you can do preference tests, instructions, 5-second tests, design questions, and navigation tests, right? So what's really key here is going back to the first couple of episodes that we were discussing. In one of the episodes I mentioned that it's human nature to make a decision and judge a person in 1/8 of a second. And then if you're on an area of a website where you start to get fixated to, where your eyes are led to, that's 2.6 seconds. And then you've got when an end user lands on the page, normally between 17 milliseconds to 50 milliseconds. That's where they get a quick snapshot of what actions they're going to start to take next. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to ask specific questions for feedback on the website based on the 5-second test, because we need to know that it's quick, it's memorable, and that this is the kind of information that you're taking, generalizing. So it's very important that you're going to ask the right questions here. So if I go back to the report, I'll just pull up the one I've got. So I think this cost me like $70 and I got 50 responses back. Effectively, I've just uploaded the header as a PNG and give that as the example of what I want people to follow. I mean, we'll get into PickFu in a little while, but this one is purely to look at the site, to land there and get the information I require. So the first question I asked is, do you know what this site offers? Now, we're going to target our advertising. Most of our clients come from United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. So we targeted those countries. We left with the gender neutral. We've got a lot of male and female entrepreneurs on the agency. The age range we were pretty focused in. We started that because most people start businesses from 25 to 55 was the age range. Didn't do anything about educational level or income, etc. The only other thing that we did is that we chose people that were business owners, and the reason we chose business owners because that's who come to our website, right? So we didn't want to just general end user who works and works for a wage, because they're not necessarily going to think the same way as a business owner. So the very first question I asked here is, do you know what the site offers? So remember that this isn't like doing data analysis. This is about you getting a feel and feedback of what people are seeing. So the focus for me really is, when I ask this question, I wanted to know, is this title Scalable Amazon PPC Management Works? Okay, so that's what the key thing I want them to definitely remember within the process of arriving there in 5 seconds. Goes back to hitting the fisherman over the head with a wet fish. When someone arrives at the site, you've got that limited amount of time. You want them to know exactly what it is and what they're getting. Now, what we'll get into a bit later is bearing in mind that most people that are looking for scalable Amazon PPC management will know some of the acronyms and stuff that we use, which I'll get into a bit later. And of course, we can always test this title. We can use Optimizely or Google Optimizer to do some split testing, which again, that'll be further down the road in our series. So coming back to the question here, if we go through, we won't go through all the answers because there's 50 there, but the general thing is you can see the people that looked at this who were business owners, not necessarily from the Amazon world. PPC management, no data, not really, it's unclear. Some sort of help with putting advertising on Amazon, pay-per-click advertising for large businesses, scalable UPCC management, whatever that is, no. It was something linked to Amazon, pay-per-click management, scalable management, PPC, something to do with data, Amazon something, Amazon PPC management, PPC management on Amazon. So you're going to go through this, and what you're doing is looking for patterns. So this is my bias of looking at this data, but what I'm extracting from it, because I designed the question in a certain way, I have a good inclination here that for me that title works. For me, within 5 seconds, they got to the website, they knew what it was, and when they got to answer that question, post seeing that for 5 seconds, they were able to remember and recall that information. It's never going to be perfect, but you have to read between the lines. So for me, on question 1, this is pretty satisfactory in terms of what I was searching for in terms of an answer. So I'm just going to scroll down and go to question number 2, right? So this is where it's important to ask questions for people to elaborate as best as possible. So I've put, in your own words, what is the most memorable aspect to the page? So here's, we scroll down, the bold lettering, colors in the computer, the purple background, fancy color, the Amazon brand, the purple pink color scheme, the bright purple colors and images and computer chips. I didn't get much chance to read the words. We'll get into movement a bit later. It goes back to what we were saying before about the sliders in the last show, how that can put off people because of the eye movement and taking their focus away from the key conversion. Definitely purple and teal color scheme. Don't remember the bright colors used in the design. It was very blue and hard to read at first. The colors pop out and vibrant. The purple background color, purple color. It's scalable. The color, the picture, the colors and the graphics stood out the most in the right way. They looked really good and immediately draw attention. The page was designed well. The color scheme is notable. It resembles. Here you go. When I said yesterday on the show, you're going to get some brutal feedback, right? So Vaporware. So what Vaporware is when people back in the day would go and raise money before they built the software. So the aesthetic that was very popular a few years ago. So what you've got to have a hard skin when you do this. If you're asking people probing questions and they're hidden behind a computer and you don't see their face, and you ask those honest, raw questions, a lot of time you are going to get honest feedback as well. The tools can be used for your Amazon site. Layout the page was visibly appealing. PPC was the word that stood out to me the most, as well as the purple color scheme, the color and the logo in the background, blue, green. So what we're looking at here is it's very, very obvious that the color scheme stands out. Now, this is where we've got to be careful of being over designed, right? So our main goal is for someone to arrive at the website, to gather information, and their next step is to make contact with us. And so what we've got to look at here, if you were to read between the lines, one, you could say, yeah, look, the color scheme works, they love the design. Or is it more about the design? Is it the form and function thing where, have we over designed the site? Okay, we already know that they understand in the first question, scalable Amazon PPC management, and they're not necessarily from our community. But the second question is really interesting, is what their member is the design, right? Not necessarily what's going on in terms of the service. So if we scroll down now, and then we go to the third question, I'll put here, what elements of the page did you dislike? Not what you like, dislike. Again, we're trying to withdraw as much information as possible to read between the lines of the comment. So you do expect to get negative comments here. So first one, small print, smaller print, too small to read, dark, nothing, too fast, I didn't see it properly, comes back to the 5-second test. Not enough focus on the words. The decorative design took a center stage. Goes back to my point on the second question. I thought the darkish table on the right was kind of an eyesore. The alignment of the text on the left side also didn't please me much. Nothing. It was very similar to many other website styles. It needs to have more impact and better images, photos needed to do this. The contrast between the text and the background. Couldn't see the video preview. Again, we'll go back to that in a little while. No opinion, dark, small writing. For the first 5-second exercise, there were too many explanatory words in small text. I had unlimited time to browse the page at my leisure. I don't think it would be a big deal, but at a glance, it certainly didn't help me ascertain what the page was about, what service was being offered, as someone unfamiliar with the main terminology. Right? Again, it comes back to that thing. We've probably over-designed the website. Yeah, we've probably got Johnny Ive from Apple on and lost focus within that process, right? So this is why it's important to have a team around you that you work together. I'm very design-led orientated. I'm not a great copywriter by any stretch of the imagination. I bring that work in from the outside, people that know the community, because I'm more heavily biased towards design. So this is why it's important to do this kind of testing as well. Too much wording. I didn't have time to remember, quite a lot of information to take in, too many words, the page was busy, there was too much copy on the page at the time, it was overwhelmingly purple, it was busy and its function was not immediately evident. Also the colours seemed to drown out. So even though I've asked a different question, we're still getting the overlap of design. So when we get to the conversion optimization report and all the changes you're going to make, for me, again, what I found from this, it's the key thing is people saying it's over the line. The text is masked because there's focus on the moving parts through the animation on the page. And the clarity of the text isn't necessarily there, which will go in to other questions from the PICFU reports. But I think this has been fantastic feedback for us. And when I get to the page of going through, or the stage of going through the report, I will show you in there how we extrapolate and then build out the changes that we make. So in this one here, so it didn't notice anything that was unappealing. Took a bit of time to figure out what it was. It's unclear what it's offering. Small font. So again, goes about the amount of text, the spacing, the formatting, and the color contrasts overall. Run a PICFU. Most people in the community know who they are. You can do polls. You can have various different options. What I did is went for an open-ended question. Here I added the Databrill URL. So the question I wanted to understand here, because now it's focused beyond the 5 seconds, I want to get feedback on two main questions on the page. First one is, can you read through the copy on the homepage link below and let us know your thoughts? Example, is it clear and concise or not? Do you understand the offer clearly? And what would you change about the text? Okay. So when a lot of people build out sites nowadays, they're more heavily focused about hypnotic copywriting, etc. What I'm looking for is clarity. You know, you've got to keep it silly simple, and I can't remember the terminology now. I think it's clarity trumps complexity or something along those lines, but it's a saying that people often use. So we'll go through some of the responses here. Again, same kind of focus. We actually focus US only, and I think it was on the filters business owners, both male and female. And so the first thing here it's clear and very eye-catching. I like the purple colors and the animation. I see no errors and I wouldn't change the text. I like that the homepage for this link is really clear, very concise, and its meaning and message. Now, answer number 3 here is, this is very technically worded site. Although the language is clear and concise, you might not attract people who don't already have a specific reason to want the service. So again, this isn't feedback from 50 brand owners selling on Amazon. You need to read between the lines, yeah? Going into number 4. There's a lot going on with this web page. It felt a little clunky, but when I did a deep dive on the information, I found the information was not too bad trying to understand. Number 5, I think the language is overly technical and doesn't give the average person a clear understanding of what the company does and what they offer. Most people have no idea what a SKU is, and it wouldn't understand what the company has to offer. Maybe laying out more clearly in layman's terms what is being offered would make it more appealing and would get a wider audience of people interested in the products. Now, we're very focused on 7 and 8 figure brand owners that sell on Amazon. So Amazon sellers are going to know what a SKU is, but we can interchange some of these words there on the page. I believe it's quite technical. I've sat down with McLean, our copywriter, and she's going to go through and put a filter on it. Now, she copyrights with inside the community, so she'll work with entry-level sellers come in and brand owners to 7 and 8 figure sellers. So she'll have the nuances there to understand what she feels to get changes on the pages, rather than having a copywriter that doesn't operate with inside of our community. Again, it comes down to context and trying to think about making the right decisions and removing biases where possible. The text is good. It makes it understandable for someone who doesn't know what the specific terms is. So you're going to get people that are going to overlap. I think the color scheme is a little too bright. I prefer a more traditional color scheme. Didn't really like the layout. I think it was too much scrolling for my taste. I prefer click-through method with tabs and stuff. Here we go. There's a nice brutal one here. I read the site but wasn't impressed. The graphic icons look like something out of Introduction to Blender 3D for Dummies, and the text doesn't really flow smoothly. I understand the offer. The text is too big and cluttered, needs better formatting. So other people were saying the text was too small. Some people is saying the contrast of the background of the text needs to be adjusting. And again, something on the formatting side is that we're going to look at reducing the text on the page and bring it into bullet points, because people scan content. It seems very straightforward with engaging graphics as you scroll down the page. The color scheme is also attractive. It's really concise, and I think it would make sense to someone who has a potential consumer of a product. But I'm not 100% clear what the service is being offered as someone who is not familiar with Amazon PPC Management. Everything was clear and bright, easy to read. The colours are nice and bold. The high amount of moving items a little distracting. Goes back to the slider thing. This is something that we'll address in the Conversion Optimisation report. It's easy to follow and understand, especially with helping accompanying images and graphics. I don't really know what it was at first, but further reading made it more clear. Let's keep just skipping through. The text is clear and concise, but the font is too large and somewhat difficult to read with white reverse type against the purple background. Again, this is something that we're going to look to address. The site is telling me it will help with listings on Amazon to drive more sales. What else is there? The robot finger touching, the human finger blocks text on my desktop screen. Other than that, the website does an amazing job of explaining what the service is, and pretty modern and sleek in its solid website with no issues. Again, that comes down to browser validation and checks, which will use Browser Stack. I mentioned that in show number 1 or number 2, but that comes later. That's where we can go and cross-reference various different browsers and different operating systems and different devices. They help me advertise more specifically to customers. There's a lot of jargon in the text. Just scanning now to go down so we don't have to read every single one out. At first, very confusing, so I had to read through it twice. However, I do not sell merchandise on Amazon. Someone's picked up on the copywriting here that it needs correcting. I thought it was very concise. Information was presented multiple ways. I don't understand it at all. I'm just scanning now for those listening back on the podcast. Another thing to address here, having to accept cookies is off-putting. The page could load a bit quicker. This is true because of all the animations. It is written in a high level but should be understandable by its customer base. No other noticeable issues. I've added the cookies thing to the report. It's not just that. The cookies tab is the same as the conversion button, and we need to test it across other devices, especially mobile. It's clear but not concise, it's too wordy, and the terms you could use to cut down on the words. I agree with that. I understand the offer very clearly. I'm just not interested in things that use excessive words to say something that could be condensed. Exactly. Every person that arrives at the website, I mentioned this in show 1 or 2 we covered in the series, is that you'll go to, let's just say, a business consultant's website, and they're like, paradigm shifting, we do this and we work on this such and such level, and most of it is absolute bollocks, right? So it's just someone just doing copy wanking on the screen because it makes them look clever. People are not interested in that. People want to get information that they understand. They don't want to see how intelligent and clever you are with using words. They want clarity and a service and an action to take. Scrolling down a bit more, it looks busy to look at, but I get the concept that they're going for. The bright pink and purple colouring of the background may be a bit much. Again, comes back to the design. I do not like the descriptions. I do like that the descriptions are not too verbose. I feel it's simply enough to understand. It gives you a good intro to the services and pricing, but there's no pricing on the site because when we do it, it's related to marketplace and the amount of work involved for each of those accounts. There is a lot of technical jargon, especially in the first couple of bullets. I guess if you're in the market for the service, it will make sense, but it's very confusing to the lay person like me. So there you go. So answering those questions here, if you read between the lines, we've got to look at reformatting the text in places. We don't want to go to a stage of dumbing it down for everyone, because if you think about it, let's just say people know inside our community, they're on their game. They know what an algorithm is. They know what ranking is. They know what a skew is. If you dumb it down way too much, you're going to look and go, well, I thought this is quite a technical company. I thought they're going to be at a point where they are, they're going to be able to improve because of the team that they've got, the data science, the technology. And if you dumb it down too much, it makes it look like, well, do they really have a technical back end? Do they have a team? Do they have the things that they're saying? So you've got to, again, read between the lines and work to the focus of your market. Third test taken place, which is the second test taken on PickFu. So the question on this one is, please can you visit the site and test the submit the form and offer your thoughts on its use and look at any errors that you discover. Okay, so you're going to look at different areas for your commerce site, and because this is a service-based business, our key conversion component is going to be a form, or if you put the phone number on the website, it'll be the phone number. Sometimes you're looking for submission of the end user for, it could be join the main list or download the ebook. But our key thing here is that we want to be able to set up a call with the client and do a discovery call, look under the hood for them and give them feedback on their account. And it's very, very obvious it's unclear here. There's a lot of technicalities around forms that people miss, which I'll go into the report. But the key thing is to ask 50 people to use it and feedback their thoughts. So as we scroll through, first one, I submit the form and I don't see any errors. 2, I think it's good. SYST, meaning system, and interface a promising upstart. Don't understand that one here. Number 3, there is a message overlay after submit that needs to be cleaned up over get a free discovery call. So the form breaks as it sends, right? So it's not very professional. This seems very interactive and user friendly. I like how it uses to guide you throughout the whole process and helps you along your way. But I don't, again, missing out on the question to get the answer back. So again, you're reading between the lines, or you just don't use it as helpful. You've got here on PickFu, you can pin it, because then you can cut and paste it or save the URL later. You can say it's helpful, not helpful, and then you can ask for a follow-up question if you're looking to get more information back. And number 5, filling out the form seemed very laggy and not responsive. Also, after filling out the form, the new message that popped up was sitting over the get called and get a free discovery call message, making it hard to read. So this is really important, because it's human nature. They send that off and they're like, oh, well, it just feels a bit clunky. This is, and straight away you put on the back foot. And it's so important to get your form validation set up and in place. And it goes back to the form fields. The more that you only ask for what you need. And because the more you ask for, that's a layer of friction. So for every field that you have, you're going to add friction to your conversion rate. So you really need to work out what it is that you want from the customer in the easiest, simplest way forward as possible. And number 7, there's nothing on the top half of my screen but a blank wall of dark violet. Now this is a browser problem. I don't know what browsers they're on. We don't have that information. This is where browser stack and tools like that come into play later on. The sizing is off as you hit submit. The thank you message comes up over the get discovery call, I didn't see any errors, but it would not let me use my autofill. Again, want to be able to have the ability of if you're using LastPass and stuff, you want to have the ability to add autofill. Again, it reduces friction. It has a strong display and excellent layout. Let's keep going through here. Usable. It looks like a business and product management service which provides SEO for Amazon to target sales of products. Website is tedious and clunky and requires scrolling almost to the bottom to get the discovery call form. That's weird because there isn't that at the bottom, it's just at the top. But you've got to take this on board. Another thing, trust factors, right? So it says there should always be a public phone number with a real person answering it if you want to be thought as a service-focused company that cares about its customers. Exactly. We should probably have a phone number on it, but when we target in different countries, you've got to think about using a phone system that's international, meaning that number can then be patch through for me or whoever picks up the calls. Again, you've got to think is that if we're working with the UK and the US and Australian market, there's going to be a struggle in some cases for Australian market, and not everyone is optimized to want to make an overseas calls because of cost. The initial thing is, do I want to phone the UK from Australia? What is it going to cost me? Now you can have free phone numbers. So this is stuff that we can look into also. I tried to fill out and enter the form, but it doesn't seem to process. I did not receive a submit message. This is the thing as well. So we don't have a validation text that comes up or an alert after to say, thank you for getting in contact. We'll be in contact with you very shortly, and that we haven't programmed it so they get a follow-up email as well, so it arrives in their inbox as a reminder. Now, what you can do is you can put a diary up on instead of a form. Pick a time to arrange a call. But then there's the cases where people may not show up, they get busy and stuff like that. So these are all things that can be tested though in the future. I really like the animation of the website. When I first opened the page, I found no errors in the sign up page. Keep going down. It looks good, but the top is big blank purple square. Blue and purple is my favorite color scheme, but the hue might clash just a little bit. There's more color schemes, but this is focused in and around the form. Again, goes back, this is mentioned in the video, and so that's not a relevant one because we know we've got to clear up on the video side of things. You don't really tell me what you can do for me. You tell me you will schedule a business call, but not what you'll do for me. Got a really valid point, because the form's not optimized and we hadn't crafted the correct text for comprehension for the end user that arrived at the site. The form is very user friendly. The only thing is that the thank you for the message it had been sent was on top of the get free discovery call. Again, that can be resolved by inline. The videos all were playing at the same time as I scrolled on mobile and the layout, so this shouldn't be on autoplay. So there's obviously an error there that can be fixed, and that takes them away from the form as well, like the moving parts as well in the animation above the fold. The form looks nice. It appears as a nice transparent overlay. The type fields all work. I do not understand the button get called. If there is no field to type in the phone number, which it doesn't have, also after pressing get called, the message thank you for your message, it has been sent appears directly on top of get a free discovery call, and it looks bad. Let's have a look. Scrolling down. Again, this goes back to the copywriting. I realize these algorithms are a wave of the future. Many of them are working in the background already, but they are on the border, in my mind anyways, of being intrusive and taking away some of our freedoms. Obviously, a tin hat foil person that goes down the rabbit hole on YouTube all the time. But you have to take some of these points on board. I didn't have any problem submitting a test page, but at the very top of the website is all purple and empty. Again, this is where we're starting to pick up some errors that can be picked up in the browser validation tools. It's a bit hard to read what it does straight away. I think the part of your, so again, this is talking about the language. We've covered that. Let's go, I can't detect any errors. I'm just scrolling, going through now. I think the website is a really good flow. Again, not related. So they're pretty much here. The other thing I forgot to mention, you've got the demographics here. You've got education. You've got gender, you've got income, etc. So straight away there's a lot of stuff there that we can do with the form repairs that we can make. And what we'll do is we'll test a number of forms and we'll test them on mobile, what they look like, the amount of fields and stuff like that. The next step, what I'll do is I'll go into the conversion report and how we build all of that information out. So we've got a finalized report to make all of these changes based on the free test requests that we did for end users. It doesn't have to be super sophisticated. I mean, I showed you in PickFu that you can pin the data that you want and you can save the, cut and paste the URL and then cut and paste the text of the comments that you want to focus around. So on the 5-second test, the page was shown to end users outside the Amazon community for 5 seconds. We then asked them 3 questions. They were from the US, UK, Australia, all the business owners between the ages of 25 to 55. That's because it's important for the whole team to have a context of when we sit down in the meeting and go through all of this data together and my findings of what I have documented earlier on in the show. So again, we've cut and paste. We know the answers to the questions. I don't need to repeat these. It's all about scalable PPC. They do understand the first question. So the summary of this is a large majority of the 50 respondees understood what we were offering, which is PPC management, which suggests that our headline is working as the visitor arrives on the page. The second question, in your own words, what was the most memorable aspect to the page? Again, goes back to, for me to summarize this, would be that there's too much going on in terms of the design. The focus should be balanced off. Don't over focus on design. Design is good. Design builds trust and everything else, but clarity and taking an action on the website is going to be really, really important. And then the third question was, what elements of the page did you dislike? So all I've written pretty much is cut and pasted this into Google Docs, shared all this with the team so that then they can read through it, especially on the design side as well. Shocking color scheme, too much text and jargon, yada, 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 yada. Again, we've covered that information. And then what I have done is I kind of marked up this one here. Can you read through the copy of the homepage link and let us know your thoughts? For example, is it clear or concise or not? Do you understand the offer clearly? And what would you change about the text? So I've just made very short comments on each of those. Too technical, layman terms, what is the skew, more clarity around acronyms, too much animation, formatting. So these are kind of denoting the key parts of each of the person's feedback. And this helps with the team as well, so they can read the text and read what I've pulled out of it. Terminology, acronyms, finger touch errors on the robot, great text suggestions to change some of the copy there. Obviously the copy team will look at that. Too wordy, design overrides copy, jargon, text changes suggestions. So summary, a lot of text could be clearer to the end users, too many acronyms, and the design is overpowering the copy. We have some areas where we need to shorten text and maybe make more use in terms of bullet points. And so what I've done here is just as a little bit of guidance. If we go back to the home page here, there's a lot of text here. So you've got the scalable Amazon PPC Management, and we've got here, we manage your unlimited SKUs and keyword data using proprietary advanced algorithms, machine learning and smart humans, all done in-house. We reduce your costs to drive a higher profit margin by tailoring our algorithms to your individual account. Each listing is unique, so we adapt to each one slightly different. And then there's the 3 bullet points. So you've got the headline, the sub-headline, and 3 bullets. Okay, that's the kind of traditional structure. No setup fees, no long-term contracts, no minimum term contracts. What I've done is I've shortened that to hand off to the copy team, which is we manage your unlimited products and keywords using our proprietary technology, again, big word maybe, and smart humans, all done in-house, reducing your costs to drive higher profit margin by tailoring to your Amazon account. Again, that's not super clear, but it's just trying to take the verbiage down and make it more palatable. The 3 bullet points here, slight changes here, no setup costs, no long-term contracts, and no hidden fees. Now, we don't take percentage of revenue, profit, ad spend and stuff like that. So to narrow that down, that's why I've called it no hidden fees, because it reduces that, because some people hide fees on the inside, etc., but we're very transparent in terms of what we do. So that was the clearest indication on how we do that. And then here, please can you visit the site and test the submit. So I've marked up some of the areas here: form break, autofill, add a phone number, browser issue, pick up while testing, overuse of design, type and background issues, conversion message not clear, too much animation, conversion action not clear, etc. So when it comes back to the form, which I'll quickly flash back up on the screen, so take a look at the form. We've got the moving parts behind it, right? Get called, no one understands. Get a free discovery call, not necessarily what people are going to understand either. Do we need a subject line? We've got name, email, subject in your message. We don't have any headers on the form. What we have is the inline text disappears as you type on the form. Now, with all moving parts, you might forget where you are on a longer form. So you've got to take that into consideration as well. Again, it's about clarity and removing any confusion. So form changes, inline header, make background animation static, smaller distractions as per sliders, narrow the width for the form, fill the opacity to make the form darker, so it's more prominent, take away the subject field to reduce friction, remove placeholder text and have the form have header labels for each field, as the user may forget when typing where they are in the field, as the placeholder text will disappear as you click on it. In the email field, when the end user does not use an @ sign and deny, then validate as please use as a valid email on white background with red text. This needs to appear just under the email field to avoid breaking the form and of course masking. And this, you can see a screen grab. It's got an X next to it as I put Danny at, right? And then it breaks the form here. One or more fields has errors. Please check and try again. It doesn't explain, well, what form has an error and what is the error. I know it's just pointing towards it, but I've only just started to type the email address in there, and there's some text I just rolled across my keyboard in the subject field. Now you can see that name's gone in there. You can see how the form has been broken down and it's all come out of shape here. So this is something that we need to fix, and this will start to put people off. If they're starting to fill the form, they might just bounce off the website. Changes on the form after the end user has submitted. Thank you, your message has been sent. Can you change this to we'll be in contact shortly, and put a message in a modal pop-up window that disappears after 3 seconds. Again, you can see the form is broken. Form button, text, change get called to get free PPC audit. That may be not right. We can split test on the form here. Form button color, as is the main conversion, we need a unique color that fits with the brand name to be agreed in a meeting. Add autofill for end user to preload email address. Remove get a free discovery call and make the form smaller, and then add the privacy policy link. People want to know that their data is protected, so it's key on a form. put the privacy policy link. It gives the end user the opportunity to read it. You can see here is on the watch our video, the video appears in front of the form and then it blocks the exit button. So effectively they can't close me rabbiting away, and it blocks out where the form goes on the overlay. You can't click on the X to get rid of the video. So the only way you can do that is reboot. That is very annoying for the end user. Again, cookies. We need to change the color, and when the user accepts, that tab should disappear because they can still read the policy. They've accepted the policy, they've gone through the process, and again there's an issue there with color. So in summary, it seems like there's quite a lot of stuff that is going on, which there is, and it's very, very key that we dial in on the main conversion. We make sure we've got clarity. I mean, we haven't even got into page loading and stuff like that. So I think with the next episode, I'll bring in Sarah, and we'll go through all the benchmarks of what the data is on the website so far, what the conversion rate is on the small test that we've run using AdWords. Then the next thing is we'll make all the changes to the site based on those benchmarks, which again I'll cover in an episode, and then we'll start sending the traffic again in the US and the UK, and then we can look and see if there's any improvement in terms of conversions, usability, and feedback from the customers as well. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that session. Going to some of the questions here, and there's some valid points here. So Oru, I think it's pronounced, says, seems if you took all the comments and tried to make all happy, you wouldn't have a website. Exactly. You don't take all the comments. You don't try and make everyone happy. It's your job to filter out the noise, the biases and stuff, and put together a hypothesis of those changes as explained. So not sure where you joined in, if you was at the very beginning, but if you heard at the very beginning of the call, I was explaining that understanding that when it comes especially down to the copy is that you understand that although business owners from the 3 different countries that we advertise in and where our clients and stuff are, you still need to read between the lines. You don't want to dumb down the copy too much. So all of this comes down to the aspect of what is your filter like, what is your biases like. It's the same thing with the design. So he goes on to say, not sure if PickFu is useful for this, as you need people who are trade related. Well, you don't need Amazon sellers as an example to tell you that your form is broken, or Amazon to tell you that the design's overpowering, or that there's too much text copy at the top of the page, etc. So we've used 2 different companies. So we use PickFu and we used 5-second test because they're very, very specific of what we wanted. Would it be ideal to get, say, 50 Amazon sellers that are running 7-8 figure businesses to take time out and get their opinions as well? Of course. The reality of that is next to zero. So what you do is you're working with what you do have. So another comment here, it says, just my thoughts, website itself designed very nicely. It's very eye-catching. I think that, but I'm biased. Other people think that as well. People think that the website looks really, really professional. But the important thing is you're getting feedback, because you want to make sure that all the stuff that you're missing, all the bits that you don't see, and that's where the magic comes into play. Because if you think, we just added that form over a period of time while I was working on other projects. We launched the site. We spent a good amount of time on it. We wanted to make sure the design was good and everything else. We run some traffic to it and we've been gathering data. Then we added the form. I hadn't checked the form properly across different browsers and stuff. The form is the most important part of the website for the conversion, yet we failed because we didn't test well enough internally, and spending $170 is next time round will probably save us thousands of dollars realistically. Because if we're spending, say, $100, $200 a day or pounds, wherever the market we're advertising, and we'll be advertising 3 Australian dollars, US dollars, and obviously the UK and a bit in Germany, things like a broken form in different browser validation stuff, when you can use browser stack, is irreplaceable. You know, it could be a difference between doubling your conversion rate, which is obviously has a massive impact on campaign spend. Nia says, thank you, Danny. Justin says, thank you. Very helpful, Danny. Thanks. So hope you enjoyed that today. I know the stuff can be quite heavy at times, but it goes down to the point of, can I ask the right questions to get the right answers? Some people may be a bit nervous about that because they don't want high levels of criticism. But it comes down to is like your opinion, like you as the company owner, is completely irrelevant. What matters is that you test stuff, you set benchmarks, and it all comes down to your conversion rate. Do you have a good conversion rate? Because we would do tests, and it's the same with Databrill as well. You would do lots of tests, most of which will fail, or they'll give you different answers. But it'd be egotistical to say, I know exactly what our clients want or our audience want and everything else, because you don't. Most people don't. Some of the bigger problems when you're doing conversion optimization, you go in to companies and then you present all the data, and then the CEO sits there and effectively turns around and says, oh, I want that big slide across the top. Even though it converts badly, he or she is focusing on their ego rather than the answers through the data. So in the next session, as I said, we're going to either add the data together to do all the benchmarking, and so the base point of where we're up to before all the changes, and then measure for the changes after. We'll talk about split testing and stuff like that. But I also want to do one probably next week on making video content. And I'll use 2 examples and break them down. I've got a background in audio engineering and record producing and stuff. So there's certain things that you can do to get impact, and creating space with inside of the music and the type of music, like orchestral music is another good example. Where, why do you think they use them for films? Because of the dynamic range, it goes up and down. So I want to take a couple of videos that we've done, one for Seller Sessions Live and one for the most recent Branded by Women, and how you're able to effectively cobble together videos, but have a process in place so that you can make these videos look more expensive on a smaller budget. Because I think a lot of people get confused where they go, do you know a video editor? Well, a video editor is a video editor. They're not a content creator. They're not doing storyboarding. They're not bringing it all together. So you need someone like yourself to produce. And then you've got the design team, then you've got the copywriting, then you've got all these different aspects. So that's something that I want to do next week and break that down, because video ads and stuff are becoming more prevalent. There's how-to videos and stuff like that, all different types of promo videos. The length's important of the videos, where the content, the main content is for the conversion windows, is where you place your most important information based on data as well. And obviously you still need to have a creative process. So there's a left and then there's a right brain part to it. Some other areas here. Cyb says, hi up fella, almost a year of lockdown podcasting. Let me out of here. I know the feeling. I was just thinking the other day, on the 12th of March, the last time we went and was in Prague, and that's where it all unfolded. So it's nearly a year to date, but we need to hold in there, guys, and get on with it. Marie says, thanks, Danny. I'm working on our website content today. Do you use any AI content creation tools? No. I mean, there's some really good ones out there that I've used, but I've seen some reviews and stuff. But yeah, it's I think that's still an undeveloped area. I think you can get away with certain point of view, especially where if you're doing content creation for your website to drive SEO, you may be able to get away with that. I think some of the news houses are using AI technology, but they've still got human manual editors. Oru, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says, fair enough. I think the site looks great, by the way. Thank you. I hope you got something out of the session. I know there's quite a lot of content that we covered there, but I thought it was really important. The main takeaways there is it's quite cheap to test. As I said, 3 sets of tests, $170 that was spent that could be saved a lot of money down the road. And then really it comes down to because you're not talking from a data point of view or a data science point of view. You're taking it from a lateral thinking point of view, opinion, bringing out to remove biases and stuff like that. So it really comes down to you as an individual to become a curator, an editor of all of that information. And how do you summarize? Because you can't please everyone. You can't be everything to everybody. So there are going to be decisions that you make that you have to put to the side, like the comment about tin hat, the comment about vaporware and stuff. Obviously, people were having a bad day. You've seen it with Amazon product reviews. You might have a great product. It just seems that the Amazon buyer might just want to ream someone out that day, and it was your day to get chewed out, right? So this is why it's important that people in life look through different lenses, and you have to accept that how people are. They're going to have their biases. They're going to project stuff as well. If you look into the works of Carl Jung, they call it shadow work as well. So everyone has their light side and have their dark side, and people will project things. So all of these things you've just got to piece together, but never ever take this stuff to heart. Ultimately, what it comes down to, you look there to create hypothesis to improve things, and then you go out. If the conversion rate goes up or down, then you're going to work on a new hypothesis, and it's a continual process going along until you reach a point where you're happy. No difference to when you're got your products on Amazon. People optimize their titles, they're checking their bullets, is there new keywords, they're taking their PPC reports, they're seeing if there's any keywords that they can use from that report that can go into their listings. And it's a constant way of evolving and trying to get the best out of your listing. But again, I'll go through benchmarking next week. Do we have any other comments here? Let's have a look. Think that's it. So I'm going to wrap for today. Sharon Evan will be back here tomorrow. I'll see you guys next week. Stay safe, keep your family safe, and I'll see you soon. Take care.